Welcome back to another episode of Did That Age Well? Pride Edition.
Pride Edition.
Brought to you by, no, I'm just kidding. I love rainbow capitalism, don't you?
I love it.
That's my favorite.
Particularly Target. I think Target has really nailed the market on rainbow capitalism.
Live, laugh, lesbian.
Yeah, live, laugh, lesbian.
Live, laugh, lesbian. I think that will go down in history books. I think that it's going to be a collector's item in a few years. And good for them.
And good for them.
for us, really.
Definitely.
Good for the world.
Yeah.
Really good for lesbians.
So great for lesbians.
Who love to live and laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Dana, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. Happy Pride Month. Today we are queering the format of the show, talking about a TV show instead of a movie. This is the first time we've ever done this on the pod.
And I'm so honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, so honored that you're here. So honored that you suggested this. This was like a few months ago that you were like, we need to do L Word for Pride.
Yeah.
And I said, sign me up.
And I was so appreciative.
Yeah.
So, yeah, glad we're here. Glad we're talking about it.
Okay, so speaking of Pride, how is gay kickball? Tell us how that's going.
Okay, so gay kickball is all right. We had here's what I'll say is that so I am in a gay kickball league that takes place a few times a year. Yeah. This is my second season doing it with the same team, Consensual Kick Picks.
Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And historically the team has not been very good.
Okay.
But something happened this season where the team was good. And something changed where now we were all a little bit more invested.
Of course. It's a lot more fun when you're good.
I know, yeah. So we made it to the championship game. I will say there were 5 teams. 4 teams made it to the semifinals and the finals. Unfortunately,
really a bummer to be that 5th team.
The Gaylor Swifties did not make it.
Sorry, girls.
Yeah. So yeah, so we made it to the championship game, and the team that we played is well, I have a name for them.
Okay. Can you say it on air?
I'm gonna say it. You might want to bleep one word. Also, just because I might run for political office one day.
Of course.
So
yeah.
I do call them the Hat Dykes.
Okay.
Which is yeah. And the reason
so we're gonna
being,
bleep hat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The reason being is there's just like a type of fuckboy lesbian, kind of like Shane from the L Word energy.
Yeah. That's
and
absolutely right.
And it's a team full of them.
It's a team of Shanes.
It's a team of Shanes. Yeah. So my loving from afar nickname has been the Hat Dykes.
Of course.
They win every season.
That's so classic of them.
We almost won by default last season because during one of the games, 2 of their dogs got in a fight on the side of the field.
Not a lesbian dog fight.
There was a lesbian dog fight.
Oh my God.
So we almost won by default.
There's trouble in the queer community.
Yeah.
Conflict.
Yeah, conflict. So anyways, we were like really wanted to beat this team, but we were like, we're probably not going to beat them. Like, it's just, it is what it is.
Totally.
And then the prize that was announced was, I shit you not, hats. Whoever won the game, everybody won a hat.
No.
And I was like, we have to win this game.
Oh, Dana, I'm so upset with where this is going.
Not only did we lose, but I got so mad during part of the game that I almost tried to fight one of them. Yeah. Not really. I did shout in their general direction, and I didn't say good game after, but
it was the biggest scandal since the dog fight of 2023.
Exactly.
Dana, I am so sorry that you didn't. But here's the thing about like things like hats is that you could go to a screen printing company and make the same hats and give them to everyone on your team.
That's actually a great idea.
How funny would that be?
If we just all showed up at the next...
Yes.
Yeah. Just,
that would be so funny,
same
Dana.
Hats. Oh, you guys, we are also have championship hats.
And then just like absolutely gaslight every single one of them into thinking like, no, we did win, actually.
Yeah. I would love to do that.
Okay. Well, listeners, we'll put Dana's Venmo in the description if you want to contribute. Give what you can. I also, okay, speaking of Pride again,
Yeah.
loving your handkerchief.
Oh, thank you.
This year. This is like,
thank you.
It's giving camp counselor, which of course we know that you are. That's that's a little bit of, background knowledge. It's ingrained.
Yeah.
But it's also just giving like easy breezy summer.
Yeah. So funny story. My girlfriend got me this scarf for my birthday, which shout out Allison,
friend of the pod.
And we actually, last weekend was my birthday. We went to the U.S. women's national team soccer game. Again, Pride Month. Everything's aligning. Yeah, it's Pride Month. And what was funny is she gave me this scarf before the game, and I wanted to tie it in like a cute way.
Yeah.
She was like, "I've noticed you're having like a scarf moment," so I thought, a handkerchief moment.
Oh my gosh, how fun!
Yeah. So, right before the game, I'm like, "Can you help me figure out how to like tie this correctly?" So I tie it. Everything looks good. And we go into the game. We're sitting in the crowd, and Allison sees someone that's like 6 or 7 rows down from us.
Oh, I remember this story.
Did I tell you this story?
Okay. Let's hear it again for the listeners. They're already invested. They're saying they're on the edge of their seats.
So someone that's 6 or 7 rows down from us. And Allison goes, "Oh, look, that girl has a scarf on. You should ask her how she tied it. It looks really nice." And I was like, I'm pretty sure I dated that girl 7 to 8 years ago. And she was like, "Huh?" And actually one of the reasons I remember dating her was the funny way in which our like fling ended, which was I was a little bit needy at the time. I was like maybe 26, whatever.
Sure, we were all needy.
Yeah, and she didn't invite me to go to the Tegan and Sarah concert with her. So it's just everything coming full circle.
That, Dana, couldn't have written it better myself.
I know.
It's
fantastic.
It's beyond an episode of The L Word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
truly.
Here's the thing, and I don't mean to make you sound like a slut, but I'm guessing that at the U.S. women's soccer game, that if she would have pointed in nearly any direction at any stylish woman with a scarf on, with a little kerchief, that maybe you would have dated that person.
I don't know that I would go that far, but maybe if it was when I was still in college, that could have been a possibility. But
absolutely,
I've been more of a serial monogamist since I moved to Denver. But yeah.
On the campus of UVA.
Yeah.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
No girl with a handkerchief tied around her neck is safe.
No.
Dana, let's talk about the L Word.
Yes.
We're here to talk about the pilot specifically, but kind of the show in general. I want to know what your history is with the show.
Okay, so here's what I will say, and I want to caveat this as saying that I am a cis white woman.
Yeah.
That is also identifies as a lesbian.
Yeah.
So this show during my coming out was fairly pivotal for me, because I was like, wow, representation. It's amazing. Look at how progressive this is.
Yes.
And you know what? For
the time.
Very progressive. Also got some issues.
Yeah. And that's what we're here to talk about.
And that's what we're here to talk about. But but I will say that I have nothing but love for how terrible this show is.
The letter L stands for love.
It does. It really does.
It really does. I want to know. Okay. I want to know who your favorite is. Who's your favorite?
Okay. What's funny is that, so I only probably made it to up through season 3.
Yeah.
And then when Dana dies, spoiler alert, I didn't watch past that.
Yeah.
And
totally.
Yeah. But I have always thought of her as my favorite.
Yeah.
And then when I was rewatching the pilot, selfish, really. When I was rewatching the pilot, I thought, oh my God, you are horrible.
She is. And they do not paint her to be an enjoyable person around in the pilot. No. She gets more likable.
She definitely gets more likable. She has an arc, a progression.
When she's like once she kind of like comes out of the closet a little bit, and like once she gets sick, unfortunately, she does become a lot more sympathetic. But right now she's just kind of like in that like repressed, very mean, and sort of annoying place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, she's really not likable at the beginning, but we have hope for her until we don't, because she's gonna die. I really like Alice, even though she's so annoying. I think that she is like, I think I identify with her the most because she just like wants so badly for everyone to like her. And she likes to have a giggle. She likes to make things kind of about her. She's like, oh, I have a top 10 list for that. I feel like that's me with my podcast. When someone's like, oh, let me talk about this thing, I'll find a way to bring it back to my thing.
I hear that.
And I just think she's funny.
She is funny. She's funny. And I will say that in Gen Q, I think Alice is like a treasure in that reboot.
Yeah. They really tried with the reboot, I think. And it didn't work. You missed some. I think that the thing is that they were trying, from my perspective, having not watched Generation Q at all, they wanted to capture the magic of the first couple seasons of the L Word. And unfortunately, because the show like was not very critically well received by the end, and because it just ended bad, I think that they probably just they were trying too hard to get back to like the magic, but they already lost it.
They did.
They lost it. And it's a different time, and I don't know. I think that fortunately, I mean, there's still a really long way to go as far as like queer representation in media, but a show that is like explicitly like, this show is gay. I don't know that in today's like media landscape that it's necessarily something that like audiences are craving, because like I think that there's, from my perspective, like the right direction to go is to bring in more queer representation in like mainstream media and like all the shows that everyone watches.
Totally.
And so I think that, I don't know, at this time in 2004, the world needed a show that was like by queer women, for queer women, white women. And they needed it to be like, alert, this is a gay show.
Totally.
I don't know.
What I did think was interesting in rewatching it, and I just watched the pilot, like before I drove over here, and I was struck by how much I was like, yes, this was a queer show by queer women, for the most part, for, you know, queer audiences, but also like the sex that is portrayed also feels pretty like, I don't know, paternalistic isn't the right word, but it's like, it's still very like, the sex scenes still feel very like male centric or like male oriented.
I completely agree. And it is really, I think that it's probably just a sign of the times in 2004 that like there was that like this version of sex in the way that it was portrayed in 2004 was like, wow, this is so like not about the male gaze. This is so like such a queer perspective. But watching it now, it really does feel like I just like didn't agree at all with what critics were saying at the time about like, this is revolutionary in the way that they're portraying sex. Because I was like, it does just kind of seem like, I mean, the scene where Jenny
is watching them through the fence.
I was like, okay. And then later, when it is ultimately in service of her describing it to her boyfriend.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, so of course when they introduce Jenny, when they introduce a straight couple, one has to assume they're only introducing the straight couple because this woman is going to discover her sexuality and it is not going to be oriented toward this man.
Which she does by the end of the pilot. It's like, no bones about it.
Yeah.
Jenny's at least bi.
At least. She's got her equal ring and index finger.
Oh my gosh.
If there's one thing that this show is not, subtle.
Yeah.
Not subtle.
Not subtle.
Not
also,
subtle.
Jenny,
Yeah.
bless her heart, is not a very good actress.
She's not great.
Yeah.
She's, I hope that maybe her craft has improved since then.
It must have, yeah.
I would hope so. Yeah. But they did kill her off by the end.
They did.
They turned it into a murder mystery.
Whodunit is season 6. And spoiler alert, all of the characters at that time had a reason to kill Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Can you imagine if your entire group of friends, everyone had a reason to kill you?
Yeah. What my brain is doing is right now I'm wondering in our group of friends who that person would be.
Yeah. That like everyone would have a reason to want to kill that person.
And it might be Laura?
Shout out, friend of the pod, Laura, watch your back.
Yeah.
Also, it really just annoyed me. I didn't watch the last season either, but it really annoys me that they don't tell us who it was.
Absolutely.
That's so fucked.
Yeah.
What the? Come on.
Yeah.
I think that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Leisha and Kate, who play Alice and Shane, have a podcast called Pants, and they like openly talk about it and being like, that last season was so fucked up. It was so stupid.
That's right. Oh my God. I totally forgot that they were the hosts of Pants.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few really like lesbian focus podcasts. Shout out Dyketopia, friend of the pod. But yeah, like Two Dykes and a Mic, Pants, and Dyketopia are kind of like the ones that seem to be happening now. So you know what? Maybe we do need more things that are just gay.
Yeah.
Just gay, not incorporating these queer personalities into the mainstream, but just gay stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? I do think that queers are having a moment. Just,
Girl,
I mean, we're having a month. Yeah.
A whole month.
The thing that's funny is I can't tell if I'm just becoming more ensconced in like queer media and queer stories.
Yeah.
Or if that is a reflection of the world right now.
Right. That's such a difficult question to answer because I feel the same way. Like, I am in such an echo chamber of like everyone who I know, who I follow on social media, who I hang out with, like they all share basically the same worldview as me, share the same like political ideologies, share the same interest in like stuff like TV shows and podcasts and movies. Like everyone around me is a lot like me.
Right.
And I know that that's not healthy.
Yeah.
But it makes me think like, oh, this is the way the world is.
Right.
The way that I'm moving through the world.
Yeah.
Like this is how everyone thinks and acts.
Yeah.
And this is the stuff that everybody likes.
And then it's like, wait, not everyone knows the whole like Shannon Beveridge and Carrie Fletcher situation.
Not
where
you guys
have they
aren't
been?
talking about that?
Yeah.
Where you been? You been on the internet? Obviously not. But yeah, it does feel like simultaneously queer people are really having a moment. It's Pride, happy Pride, but at the same time it's also like everyone's lives are in danger.
Yeah.
It's like from a legislative perspective, from the way that people are allowed to move about the world and live their lives, not having a moment.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the fun stuff like media, it seems like maybe there's a moment happening.
Yeah, and I think that's very well put. I mean, it's easy to sort of separate those two things, and try to just live in the like the fun, like and then ultimately like trans kids are fighting for their lives.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of trans kids, let's talk about a trans adult. Let's talk about how in this show, ultimately in the beginning, it is very like white, cis, lesbian, and bisexual women.
Totally.
But then they do introduce a trans man later.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, I think that it's really lovely that they like show the character's whole arc, and that it isn't just like they plopped someone in as like a token to be like, oh shit, we need a trans man here.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen, and we're talking about the character Max.
Right.
And I haven't seen Max's arc in, I don't know, like 15 years.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was actually, part of the reason I reached out to you is because to ask if you wanted to record this is because I was talking to a friend who was like, oh, my girlfriend and I are rewatching The L Word. And man, it did not age well. And I was like, oh, you know, I should really contact Molly and see if she wants to talk about it.
I know just the person to call.
Click.
Yeah.
But I do understand that at this point, looking back and just saying like, oh yeah, they had a trans character, that's great. But I do think that there were some like big issues with how they,
for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Let me be clear.
Totally.
Does not seem like it was a perfect representation. That it was the best approach for storytelling. However, I will give them credit that for the time to bring in some representation with a storyline
Totally
is, you know, doing
Noteworthy.
More than nothing.
Yes,
doing more than nothing. They were not doing nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but also, I have only, gotta admit, sorry listeners, sorry lesbians, I have not actually watched that season.
Okay.
But I read about it.
Totally.
I read about that season. So why am I even opening my mouth and saying whether it aged well or not? You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is interesting that they did include a trans character, and I'm glad they did, but I also think there was a lot of like shaming and like yeah. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's also like I think that sometimes it can be important in, especially like, you know, queer media, to show the ways in which like queer people and like people from like different identities are pitted against each other. Like when Dana is like, hey Alice, when are you gonna decide between dick and pussy? Yeah,
that's problematic.
You know, I'm not gonna be, we don't have to talk about bisexual erasure for an hour, but and then she turns right around and she's like, Shane, I wouldn't be caught in public with you.
Yeah. Dana's got some issues.
Dana's got issues, and they call it out right away. They're like, okay, you're just like repressed and like taking out that your internalized homophobia is showing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think on the one hand, it's like, yeah, it would have been nice to see representation of like this group of friends being like really supportive of each other. But then like, and like if their conflict was not at all related to their identities or like their sense of, I don't know, like their insecurities about other people's identities, it would, you know, that would be nice if like all the conflict in the show came from things that were like, you know, related to their sexuality and like their sex lives, but not explicitly like, you know, like this is what lesbians fight about.
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe it's also important to show that there's like, this is probably what a group of friends, a group of white women mostly, living in LA.
Yeah, in 2003,
in 2004. This is probably the way that they would have talked to each other.
Totally. One of my favorite parts of that episode comes from the very beginning when like poor sweet Tim, who's just, you know,
sweet Tim,
coaching a swim team and, you know, dating someone who's, you know, from the beginning, we can tell that Jenny's unhinged.
Of course. She's an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist. And then as time goes on, she just becomes more and more unhinged. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To the point where all of her friends want to kill her.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But
God bless
Tim at one point says, and we also, at least in the first episode, we don't know where Jenny has come from. Like, what I picture is her having just gotten, like, finished the Iowa school writing program.
Oh, my God, of course.
Yeah. And then just, like, making her way, you know, by Lena Dunham. Yeah. And then, see ya.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so she has this, like, cornfield energy about her.
She sure does. She definitely is giving, like, she really needed to move to LA.
She needed it.
She needed this.
She needed an awakening.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she got one.
But Tim says to her, actually, I wrote it down. This is embarrassing. I made some notes just because, you know.
Why is that embarrassing?
I don't know.
I'm looking at my notes right in front of me. I got. Yeah. It's okay.
Tim, at the very beginning of the episode, says to Jenny, this neighborhood is not as traditional as you might think. So, like, it's before anything has happened. No, like, we haven't seen any girls kissing or anything. And it's just like, we know something is coming. There's a shakeup afoot.
She is about to meet lesbians for the first time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do think that it's like kind of, not to give like this straight man too much credit, but I think that it's sweet that they have like a straight neighbor.
I know.
That they have this like straight dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, good luck today, Tim.
Yeah.
Have a great day, Tim.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of sweet.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I like that for them. And like they're, and like Dana's beard tennis partner.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so sweet that they have this gay around, this man just to fool nobody.
To fool nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, it was like, I think that they probably at this time felt like there was some pressure to not be like a man-hating show. So they're like, we have to show some warmth between these women and their straight from the cornfield neighbor, Tim, because he's, you know, also kind of giving
cornfield vibes.
Yeah. So yes, they establish in the beginning that Tim is like, all right, Jenny, this is gonna be different, and it is immediately when Tim goes out for the day and Jenny is watching people have
Shane
sex in her yes, and it's like, and also it's not even Shane's pool.
It's not even Shane's pool.
It's not Shane's pool. And the thing that's also funny is that when Jenny is telling Tim that she saw the neighbors having sex, he's like, there's no way that it was the neighbors. I was like, that is funny.
That is funny.
He was like, yeah, that's Tina. No,
yeah,
that was not that.
And to be fair, he's not wrong.
That
and Tina are a little more reserved.
They are not able to. Well, it's really Bet who is not feeling the sex at the doctor's office thing.
She's not
feeling it. I felt sad that their friend's sperm didn't have what it took.
Me too. Yeah, I felt bad for him.
And I really felt bad for like the whole way that they were navigating like the sperm donor in that first episode was just like, God, it's just so hard to start a family.
And at one point, as if this like makes sense, Bet's like, I'm ovulating for not Bet. Tina's like, I'm ovulating for the next 2 days. And Alice goes, great, since your friend didn't work, we're just going to throw a party of all the men we know to find you a sperm donor for this ovulation cycle.
The fact that she was like, oh my God, we only have 2 days left. I was like, girl, you've been together 7 years. You can wait 1 more month.
Yeah.
That was unhinged. They were like, and then at the end they were like, now we have to wait another month. I'm like, okay, I understand that probably like they've been at this for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it seems like that guy, their friend, was like the first sperm donor that they had ever talked with, or like this was maybe their first try.
Yeah.
But they had probably been talking about it for a long time.
They were
been
excited.
Thinking about it. They were excited. And so then the prospect of waiting another month is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But it was so funny how those time constraints seemed to be so extreme. And then also the party that they threw had a total of like 5 men.
Yes.
That was also funny.
That was also funny. And I don't know, maybe this is where I am in life, but if someone was like, I'm throwing a party in 2 days, I'd be like, God, what are you talking about?
I have plans.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I guess
this is not enough notice.
No, it's not. Where's the Google Calendar invite? It was 2004. I guess I didn't have it.
Oh, great point.
But I did think one thing that was really funny about the party too that placed me in 2004 was that Shane, of course, a heartbreaker, a hat dyke, if you will.
Yeah.
So she tells this woman who she's been like, kind of toying around with. She's like, oh, sorry, I didn't have my cell phone.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that people actually like, even though of course this woman did not buy Shane's excuse,
right,
it is like a reasonable thing that you could say in 2004
right,
to just be like, yeah, I haven't had my phone on for a couple of days.
Yeah.
What?
Not only that, but she said, I didn't have my phone on for a couple days, and when I turn it on, I'll give you a call.
That was so
but
funny.
I was like,
it's like,
wow,
it could be in a week.
Yeah, it could be in 2 years.
That is so funny. Like,
yeah,
it could be at when the next phone comes out.
Yeah,
it could be when T-Mobile releases the Sidekick.
Oh
Hashtag not an ad. But yeah, that was really funny to me, placed me in the time. Other things that placed me in the time were the way in which the women in the show were all conventionally hot and conventionally thin.
Uh-huh.
There is not one fat person to be found, not even like a thick-ish person to be found. Agreed. Every person in this show. I mean, Kit is she's a little bit curvier than the rest of the women, but it's not a...
Totally.
It's... The body types on this show are identical for the most part.
Yeah.
2004.
They also... None of them have boobs either, which is fine. But
sure.
Just...
And they're taking their tops off all the time.
They're taking their tops off all the time.
And
there's one scene in which someone has pretty big tits, but they very clearly look like they are implants. And I was like, this is so interesting.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that's what happens potentially when you hire an entire cast of very thin people.
Mm-hmm.
Tough. Not that in 2024 we have the most inclusive, progressive body positivity, even in the queer community.
Totally.
But it was striking,
the
2004 of it all, as far as representation of body types.
Totally, that's a great point.
It was we don't even have a short girl.
Oh my God,
they're all tall and thin.
That's so true. Yeah.
Anyway,
okay. One thing I do sort of want to bring back to talk about is
let's talk
the index and pointer finger thing. Oh, excuse me, the index and ring finger thing. Your index finger and your pointer finger, these are the same finger, right? It's both this finger.
Yes.
Okay. So the scene when they're you're supposed to be able to tell if someone's gay if their index finger is longer than their pointer finger.
No, their ring finger. Your ring finger and your index finger. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Isn't that true? Is that true for everyone?
Okay, my ring finger is longer than my pointer finger.
Both of my pointer fingers are longer than my ring fingers.
Well, that's science, everybody.
Hey, maybe there's something to it.
Maybe there's something to it.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see your hand. Hold it up. Oh. Wait, no, your ring finger is taller than your pointer finger.
Wait, I thought that's what it was.
Wait.
I don't remember. Wait, I have to look it up.
Yeah. Wait, will you look it up again? Because all I wrote down was her index finger and ring finger are the exact same length. But I do remember hearing this when I was in elementary school.
Unfortunately, I just wrote index finger, ring finger thing.
Oh.
So that's not helpful.
Well,
we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. It's not like we could look it up or anything.
Nope.
But yeah, wait. So yeah, my ring finger is longer than my index finger. I think that's...
So that means
It means I'm either straight or gay.
Yeah. And there's no way of knowing. So
there's no way of knowing.
We should just move on.
Yeah. But that is science. So, okay. One thing that is a little bit just like not my taste in this show is that there are so many fucking characters. And with so many characters and the fact that like characters do come and go in this show as shows go, but like it makes it feel a little bit soapy.
100%.
This show is very soapy, and I do mean that in a derogatory way. I'm sorry. But it is just like I kind of wanted, there were a few parts that were funny.
Right.
But I wanted this show to be more of a dramedy than a drama.
One of the parts that I thought was like both the funniest and was arguably problematic was just at the end. So the pilot is split up into 2 episodes. And at the end of the first episode, someone starts to hit on Jenny and she just goes, no. And then walks out of the bar.
That to me, I wrote that down too. My jaw dropped. Someone just said, hi.
Yeah. She's like, she's not trying to fuck you, Jenny.
I think
she just said hi.
That is so annoying when like people who, I mean, I know that Jenny was questioning her sexuality all of a sudden, but it's so annoying when straight women go into, or straight men too.
Yeah.
When straight people go into like a predominantly queer space and think that everyone wants to fuck them.
Yeah.
Like, do you go in through the rest of the world thinking that everyone wants to fuck you?
Yeah.
In every space that you go into?
Totally.
And I feel like Jenny really showed us that.
Jenny really showed us.
This really nice person that just said hi.
Yeah.
And she said no thanks.
Yeah.
Very, very rude.
Yeah. Agreed.
Also, when I couldn't really get past like when Marina, the owner of the planet, when she makes out with Jenny in the bathroom, I'm like, okay, Jenny's very upset. Also, she probably really had to pee.
Yeah, and she doesn't pee.
That's
a great point.
If someone followed me into the bathroom, I don't care how hot you are. If I'm going to the bathroom, I'm going to need you to like go back out.
Yeah.
Like, this is a party. It's crowded.
Yeah.
Who knows the next opportunity that it's going to be open. You know, it seems like a very sexually active group of people.
Yeah.
Somebody in the next 3 minutes is going to be having sex in that bathroom. And if I need to pee, get out.
Absolutely.
What do you think I'm doing here?
Right.
She wasn't going there to have Marina come make out with her.
I know.
And it's not like she was really giving that off either. I know that they had their like literary flirtatious moment. But
yes. They're both so deep.
So deep. God, they read books and that this is where I felt like Alice trying to like be a part of this, like she's like, yeah, so I'm a writer too.
Yeah.
And she's like really trying to like be a part of the conversation, but they're like, oh yeah, we're like deep, we read books and you write at a silly little magazine. Sometimes as a copywriter, I feel like I'm sort of like the sellout type of writer, right? I work in advertising.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm still a writer.
Totally.
But like when people in like the literary world like think they're better than the rest of us, I'm kind of like, you're not.
You can go fuck yourself.
You can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. You can.
We're all people.
We're all people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's really great that you care about your writing.
Yeah. And that you're using it right now as like a way to try and like connect with the seemingly straight woman in the room, Jenny. Yeah. I don't know. But I do like Marina.
Marina's great. The problem is that like I had mixed feelings about that scene because one, like it is pretty hot.
Sure.
But two, it is kind of like the predatory lesbian thing isn't great.
She's kind of a like a hey mama lesbian.
Yeah, just like also, I don't know, just the idea of someone just being like, oh, we're both at this party. You seemingly have gay vibes, so I'm going to put my mouth on your mouth.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about it. Like, that doesn't feel okay to me.
And it certainly didn't feel okay to Jenny.
Exactly.
Yeah. I did think it was weird, though, that she didn't tell her boyfriend. because he seemed so into the fact that she was watching Shane and that other woman having sex. And I don't know, but I guess maybe we're meant to believe that it was like when she was telling him earlier when they were having sex about that it was like in his service
to turn him on.
Yeah. But like at this point now she's like, oh shit, maybe I did like that.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't like that narrative of her being like, oh, I'm upset because I liked that and I don't want to like that. Mm-hmm. Instead of like, oh, I was like, this person was like predatory and just like mouth attacked me and I didn't want to be kissed.
Yeah.
You know, like that seems like the part that's like way ickier.
Yeah.
To me. And that was sort of just like glossed over. It's like, oh, she's afraid because she was so turned on.
Totally.
So I don't know. Let's see, what else do we need to discuss? Okay, so the character Kit, her story seems like so disconnected from everyone else in the pilot. It's like we just jumped to a different show when we like jumped to her storyline. I felt like maybe they were trying to do too much in the pilot.
100%.
But I did read that originally the show was supposed to be centered on Kit. And
what?
Yeah, but she was supposed to be a lesbian.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that would have been a better show.
Yeah, probably. A show centered on a woman of color. Imagine. Yeah. And okay, so let's see what else what else we need to discuss.
So one thing that I really loved is so towards the end of the second episode when Bet and Tina are like in seemingly a better place and for now and they decide to have a threesome randomly with just some guy. They're like, we don't give a fuck what his medical history is. Yeah. Also, we're not going to tell him that we're trying to just get pregnant right now.
Insane.
Yeah. And so they just invite this artist to have a threesome. Yeah. And then when he tries to put a condom on, and they're like, no, don't. My favorite line is, why is it whenever dykes want to have sex with a guy, it's only because they want to steal their sperm? I was like,
I don't know. Is that something that people like?
How often has this happened to you, man?
I don't know that this is something that people are really talking about. I don't think that even like the most homophobic straight man is like, well, you know, lesbians, they only want to have sex with you so that they can steal your sperm. I don't think that's something that anyone's saying. It's like, no one said that. It's like one of those things where it's like you bring it up and everyone's like, no one said that, but now we are worried.
Yeah.
Now totally. No one was worried about that before, but now we have questions.
Yeah.
My favorite quote was, what do you guys think about butt waxing?
Yeah,
I liked that.
And it was directly tied. The thing that we like picked up on directly after that, it was tied to like, you know, just pubic hair in general. Yeah. But I loved that it wasn't like, you know, Brazilian or like bushwaxing. It was just ass waxing.
Yeah.
Like
it was very specific. It was like I felt like that scene, and like, sorry to make this comparison, but it's a really easy one to make. It was like watching an episode of Sex and the City where they're sitting in the cafe and they're talking about some
that episode of Sex and the City.
Yeah. They're talking about they're just talking about waxing. They're like, so let's talk about butts. And I thought that this show had really the potential to kind of be like the gay version of Sex and the City, where it's just a dramedy about women and their sex lives and the funny things that happen and their friendships and their relationships. And like on the surface, maybe that's, if you were to describe the L Word, like that's kind of what it was, but it was just so saturated in characters. And 1,000 storylines. And in a way that wasn't like that wasn't as easy to just like pick up on in single episodes. Like even though Sex and the City is serialized, it's you can still kind of be like, oh yeah, it's the episode where this happened.
It's like watching an episode of Friends.
Yes, you know, exactly. But it's like with the L Word, you have to have a flow chart of everybody to understand like what's going on from episode to episode.
Yeah.
But the scenes of them hanging out in the planet, that was what I enjoyed the most.
Totally.
Was just like watching these women kiki and talk about like funny stuff related to their lives.
Totally.
Yeah. So I just wanted it to be funnier. But they were like, no, but it's steamy, so it has to be a drama. And I'm like, no, there's a lot. I mean, in Sex and the City, there's a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And it's still funny. And sometimes the sex is what is funny.
Yeah, totally.
I kind of wanted I wanted some of the sex stuff to be funnier too.
Oh, I completely
this show
agree.
takes itself too seriously.
100%.
And I understand that like the stakes were high for this show. And also because it was on Showtime, they had this pressure to be like, boobs, nudity all the time. And maybe they felt like, I don't know, like they really needed to nail this drama when maybe they could have had more fun with it.
Totally.
I don't know.
Yeah. What's funny is a couple of years ago, one of Allison's friends was visiting, and she brought up the real L Word, and I was like, "Oh, what is that?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, it's the reality show spinoff, sort of the L Word."
Yeah.
And so we were like, "Let's watch it." And we watched like the first couple episodes.
Okay.
And it is just softcore porn. That's it
my
is,
God.
and it, but it's like
But it's real people.
But it's real people, and
Yikes.
it's honestly, it's pretty tough to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful that I did, because it's just hilarious. Because it's like, it's a type of funny. It was like my version of watching Real Housewives, I'm sure, where it's
Absolutely.
like, where the drama is there, and that's what's funny about all of it.
Right.
Yeah. And even like this show just has no sort of comedic release.
No.
Yeah.
Like I needed them to talk about the butthole waxing for another 20 minutes or so, you know?
Yeah.
I needed them to have those funny conversations to break it up, and there weren't enough of them.
Agreed. They also, they used the term bush confidence, which I thought was hilarious. And then later on in the show, they also say nipple confidence. And I was like, what's like,
are we all supposed to know these terms? I don't know. Maybe that was like the nomenclature of 2004. I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing that I do think that we need to discuss is the chart. So
the chart.
Alice, my queen, launching the chart. So funny. The real world parallel for this was ourchart.com. Did not know that was a real thing.
Me either.
On Wikipedia, it says the website, which allowed registered members to create their own profiles and hosted several blogs on the show, operated from the beginning of season 4 until the end of season 6, after which the site was discontinued and redirected to Showtime's official website.
Wow.
So it's got, I'll post an image of this on our social media. Follow @DidThatAgeWell. But look at this.
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe?
I cannot believe.
But also it's like you kind of do need that to understand how everyone is like related to everybody.
Yeah. And that is actually something that I do think is interesting in sort of like the disc comparison, or I don't know, difference. Yeah.
Sure.
We'll go with difference.
We'll go with difference.
Yeah.
The contrast maybe?
The contrast. Thanks, Malls.
Yeah, you bet.
Between like a show like Sex and the City and a show like The L Word, where, you know, the queer community in general is, you know, by nature more incestuous.
Yeah.
And so I could see the challenge in it being like, look at all these funny people that we're fucking, and also those funny people that we're fucking are also us. And so it's like it is a different thing, and I think that's probably a really hard balance to try to find, and I don't think they struck it. But yeah,
I feel like Shane is really the only character where they captured that.
Totally.
They captured it for Shane, because Shane is literally having sex with everybody, and I was like, I think that Shane is the one who like is so confident and like is able to, I don't know, because of Shane's like charisma, just kind of maintain these relationships and this network with people, even though like she's burning bridges.
Yeah.
And just like on an absolute tear.
Yeah.
I felt like that was really the best representation of like, yeah, this is a person who is like fine with having sex with everyone in their community right now.
Totally.
And it worked out fine.
Yeah.
It seemed.
Shane is the term. Someone said recently when I was around them, feral girl summer. And I know that
I have heard that before.
I've heard that like feral rodent guys or something is a thing right now. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, like feral rodent guys.
So it's like it's God, what is the term? But it's like Jeremy Allen White.
Oh, yeah, I've heard rodent, but I didn't know the feral part. I have seen a few memes that are like, oh yeah, these guys are like really having a moment. Like Jeremy Allen White, Barry Keoghan.
Totally.
And there's like one other person. I don't think that they look like rodents though. Like they do kind of, they're like, they have like kind of weird faces.
Yeah.
But I don't think they look like rodents. I mean, I would really hope that no one would compare me to a rodent.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Unless I really looked like one.
I do.
It's okay if you feel like they do.
No. Well, so no, what I was going to say is that there's a meme that's like, why does this medieval shoe remind me of Timothée Chalamet? And I think about that on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, but it does.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But what I was going to say is that Shane has this like feral girl decade is kind of what it feels like.
Feral girl lifestyle.
Feral girl lifestyle.
Yeah, totally. I mean, honestly, the fact that they had so many like at a party that was designed for them to find a sperm donor, it was just
full of dykes. That's
absolutely to the brim.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you know, it would make sense if they captured that feeling of like they're all running into each other, and if they were like, oh yeah, if they had like a funny conversation, you know, kind of like for the straights to understand,
right?
Explicitly being like, oh my God, isn't it so funny how we all have sex with each other, but then we're all friends?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Not a stereotype, but.
Okay. And so how many of your exes are you friends with?
Probably none.
Okay.
Let me think about that. Yeah, friends, I would say none.
Okay.
I think that there are like some people I've dated that I'm like on good terms with.
Right.
But like, you know, if I saw them around, I'd be like, what's up?
Yeah.
But I would say that I have more like, there's like a more scorched earth than friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But that's only like a couple of people too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that that's not the case for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. You run into them at the women's soccer game and you say, how can I tie this scarf?
Exactly.
And she'll help you. What else do we need to discuss with this show? I feel kind of bad about what I said about Max and giving them credit for having a trans representation when I literally hadn't even watched that season. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
No,
that's the last thing I wanted to say. I might take it back.
Yeah. I don't know. The only other thing is I really loved the like when Dana's beard is like, well, you know the joke about the moving van, and now it's a turkey baster.
Oh my God, that was so cringy.
What's funny is that joke has stuck with that joke has stuck with me since I first saw the show.
Oh my!
It's just like something that I've always been like, that's funny. And
the way it's positioned in the show was like, it's not funny.
I know.
And you laughed.
Well, I feel like it was positioned that way because at the time, Dana's like, you're supposed to be my boyfriend. You're not supposed to be making dyke jokes.
Well, I think that, yes. And also, I think that it's like, that she's like, don't be, or I guess that it's like, we're supposed to be like, oh, that's kind of homophobic. Yeah. And also like a little bit too close to home right now because these women are like trying to have a baby and it's like really hard. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that is really funny that stuck with you for so long.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, but it is something that I think would stick with you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we need to discuss?
I don't know. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The L Word, on the whole, if I had to sum it up, I think that it laid a foundation and like was a big breakthrough for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And watching it now, I'm kind of like, thank God this doesn't age well, because that shows like how far we've come in the past 20 years and also how far we still need to go.
100%.
But it made me feel like there were some parts of it where I was like, okay, I can see how this was really important at the time. Mm-hmm. And it gave me like an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I feel bad saying this, but I wish that they just would have made a better show.
Yeah, I hear that. So what it feels like, okay, you know how like with a Genji Kohan show like Weeds or Orange is the New Black, where the first season is fucking incredible. Mm-hmm. And then as the seasons go on, they just get more and more unhinged.
Yes.
It feels like we picked up this show in like the third season of a Genji Kohan show.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, Dana, that's a perfect way to put it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh my God. Thank you for saying that.
100%.
Wow. Oh my God. That's so true.
Yeah.
It feels like a show that is still, it feels like they're already losing the magic.
Yes.
From when it starts.
Absolutely.
And I understand that, I guess the thing about the show, like the best thing about the L Word is its potential.
100%.
And I don't think that it did what it needed to do. At the same time, like it's unfair that we have to put so much pressure on this one show to be good.
Right.
I mean, if there were like 10 versions of the L Word, it wouldn't really matter to like the queer community if there was one show that was a flop. But because this was the only one, there was so much more pressure.
Yeah. Well, there was Queer as Folk, but I'm not sure when when the timeline for that was. And I've also never seen that.
I've also never
I
seen
just
it
know
either.
that it was a show that was also like instrumental. So
yeah. I mean, and there was Will and Grace, but that was like not really about lesbians.
That was like, and it was network. You don't see anyone fucking in that. And...
Or no boobs.
Yeah.
No boobs.
Yeah.
You know, even though this is a show by queer women, mostly for queer women, I did think that it was still unfair and made me think that it was like kind of had that like male gaze thing going on, in that there was plenty of full frontal of these women.
100%.
No dick or balls.
Okay, so you do see a little bit of a shaft.
Okay. Well, there you go. Then we have equality.
There you go. We have equality.
Actually, it's a perfect show.
Yeah, it's a perfect show.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There weren't like any awkward race things at all. No.
Yeah, can we talk about race just briefly before we wrap this up? I mean, other than the fact that this is a show of mostly white women, and there's that really weird moment where Kit, who is Bet's half sister, right?
Yeah.
Someone's like, "Oh, is this your half sister?" And someone's like, "Yeah, guess what half?" Who says that? Now I'm like forgetting.
Oh, Kit says that. But I was actually referring to like Tina is very uncomfortable when Bet just gets when Bet's suggested sperm donor is a black man.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, it's not something that I feel like I can speak to and I don't want to, but it was just like, I was like, oh, this could have been handled better. And I wish that it had been.
If it would have been a lot better if like the show made it clearer that like, oh, she's in the wrong here.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, their dynamic is so messy.
Yeah.
You know?
It was just like, that's so chaotic.
Right. It was treated like with equal weight as like, she's only ovulating for 2 more days.
Exactly.
Oh no, what are they going to do about this person who's not white?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't love that.
We don't love that.
We don't love that. And I'm not an expert on this show. So L Word heads or people who also really don't like it, anyone who knows the show better than I do, I'm sorry.
Same. 100% same. I watched maybe up through the 3rd season.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
And listen, what are we? Experts? Of course not. No one claimed to be an expert on this podcast. No one claimed to be an expert.
Also, now that I say 15 years ago, I am thinking that I would have been like 17 at the time.
Yeah.
10 years ago. 10 years ago is when I watched this show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to, you know.
Oh, of course, we don't want to age you,
yeah.
for God's sake. I do. Okay, one last thing that I will say, and then we can wrap this up, is that I remember when I saw for the first time, like, the cover of this show, like the artwork for this show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's a show about lesbian orgies.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. I was like, when I was like pretty young and I saw it, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's on TV.
What?
It looks like a lesbian orgy.
Yeah. So when I watched this show, I was in college and I wasn't out at the time, or I was like only out to like the gay community and then like on the club lacrosse team, you know, totally straight.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. And but I would go to the library and rent them from the library.
That's so funny.
And I just
now there's a
like,
record of you.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like, no one's seeing me, right? Just like
I was watching this on my friend's Paramount Plus account. Shout out Jimmy, friend of the pod. And I was like, Jimmy's gonna see that I was watching the L Word, and that's like kind of funny. He's gonna be like, oh, so what's up?
Yeah,
you know. But I don't know. That's something that I think is like special about the L Word, is that it wasn't made for a mainstream audience.
Totally.
Like, it was made. Allegedly, it was made for queer women.
Right.
And I'm like, that's really cool. Like, they weren't trying necessarily to have mass appeal.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to like reach every audience and like, you know, just like wash down, like give this watered down version of like what life might be like for glamorous lesbians and bisexual women living in LA. It was 100%. Like this. That's one thing that I think is good. But when I say for queer women, I do mean for cisgendered, white, thin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Women. Mm-hmm. So
I'm happy that it exists, and I think that it could have been better. And that's true of most things.
There are, you know, there's some things that I wish didn't exist, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm glad exists because it gives me content for this podcast.
Yeah, I hear that.
So, you know, there's plenty of stuff that's bad that I'm like, well, lots of good stuff to talk about on the pod.
Yeah.
Dana, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
And I think that we should talk about TV shows more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
On this show.
Yeah.
Listeners, let us know if you like us talking about TV shows or if this was way too chaotic.
Yeah.
We were kind of all over the place, but I do think that we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, and I do think the chaos was really an ode to the L Word.
Absolutely.
And maybe our collective ADHD, but... Mm-hmm. We're just gonna go with the
double the ADHD, double the fun, and also, I mean, that you were looking at that web. Yeah, there's so many characters it's impossible to not be chaotic.
Agreed.
So anyway, chaotic lesbians out there, this one's for you. And we'll see you next time, Dana.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.